What does love mean? For this beautiful girl, it's a total disaster. Why? Because in her mind, heartbreak and being obsessed with your ex are the unavoidable side effects of love. For Sojin, falling in love means meeting someone new, but the consequences and the price you pay are just too high. You have to get to know them, understand their personality and what they like. If you're not compatible, you have to adjust, but that usually leads to arguments, hurt feelings, and eventually, breaking up. Sojin has lost faith in love because she's been through some pretty rough relationships. Either one person cheats or someone gets too clingy, and someone always ends up miserable. It seems like every one of her relationships has ended in betrayal and pain after all these heartbreaks. Sojin, a gene researcher, has come to a crazy conclusion: everyone has a soulmate, and it's all about matching DNA. If you can unlock the DNA code, you can find your perfect match. And her DNA soulmate, he's a tall, skinny guy with double eyelids and thick hair. He can't stand the heat, so he gets super grumpy in the summer. He's got this special gene that makes him swell up from mosquito bites, and he breaks down alcohol really well, so he loves to drink. Sojin wants to share this with the world. If we can crack the DNA code, nobody will have to suffer in love ever again. Just as she's saying this, the door bursts open. A man walks in, holding a bouquet of flowers. Sojin knows this is her soulmate, but she can't see his face. Then, she wakes up. It was all a dream, a beautiful fantasy. But luckily, thanks to DNA compatibility, she actually found a great boyfriend. She's about to meet him when she pulls out this super powerful hair growth serum she's been working on. It's totally compatible with her boyfriend's DNA, and it can give anyone with a bad hair day a full head of luscious hair in just 7 hours. Isn't it awesome having a geneticist girlfriend? Sojin brags to her boyfriend, but he drops a bomb on her, telling her he's breaking up. He says she's not his type, and he's already sick of her always talking about DNA. She's been collecting his hair, his used tissues, even his earwax. He can't even use the bathroom in peace. He accuses her of being a stalker, not a girlfriend. Sojin tries to explain that she just wants to see how compatible their DNA is. Her boyfriend tells her, if you want to know that, go see a tarot reader or a fortune teller. We're done. You should find someone who loves science as much as you do. Sojin, clutching her hair growth serum, pleads and says, this is the result of months of research. Can you believe this guy? Sojin thinks to herself, he's so mean. She's been working on this hair growth serum for him, and he actually likes it better when another woman tells him he's handsome even without hair. Seriously. He throws the serum on the ground and walks out. Sojin runs after him, yelling, is breaking up the answer to everything? I'm so weak. But I learned how to rollerblade because of you. I even started putting cilantro in my noodles like you do. She's completely heartbroken. She can't even eat noodles anymore because it reminds her of him. They even had a joint account to help his mom get dentures. He said he never asked her to do any of that, but since it was her money, she should just keep the rest. Sojin tries to hold on to him, remembering all the good times, but he just turns his back and walks away. Yan-woo is sitting in his car, watching this whole crazy breakup scene unfold in front of him. It's like watching a drama movie. The girl is totally heartbroken, crying her eyes out. And Yan-woo is thinking, man, this could have ended a lot sooner. Yan-woo is a total heartthrob, like a movie star. He's got the looks, and his dad is the big boss at the hospital. He's got tons of girlfriends, but no one has ever really captured his heart. He loves having fun, and if things aren't exciting, he's out. He doesn't like to drag things out. Later that night, his current girlfriend and her friends are at a bar, and they call Yan-woo to pick them up, but he's not going inside. He says, I'll wait outside for 30 minutes, then I'm out here. So, here's Sojin, heartbroken, watching this bad boy walk away, and she's about to get hit by a car. Yan-woo, being the good guy he is, flashes his headlights to warn her. 30 minutes pass, and his girlfriend is still nowhere to be seen. Yan-woo is over it, so he drives off. The next day, he's on his way to work when he gets a call from his girlfriend. She's furious that he left her at the bar. She wants to see him right now, because they missed each other last night. Yan-woo isn't having it. He tells her, this is it, I'm breaking up with you. And to make it clear, he sets a timer. 30 seconds, then I'm hanging up. This is the third time they're arguing about the same thing, and he's done. He's not going to give in. He's not going to be her man, and he's not going to change her. The timer goes off, he hangs up without a second thought, and then he happily grabs the coffee his nurse made for him. He's all charm, and the nurses are totally smitten with Dr. Heartthrob. Meanwhile, Sojin is heartbroken. She's not even hungry, but she's convinced her ex will come crawling back. She thinks their genes are like magnets, and his body will automatically reject anyone else. Then, out of nowhere, her coworker yells, check out this new report on your ex's genes. He's got the womanizer gene, that means he's a playboy. The coworker points out, all of your boyfriends have had that gene. You're drawn to bad boys. Sojin is crushed. She's about to drown her sorrows in booze with her little brother, Kang-hoon. He knows what's going on and tries to reason with her. You need to stop falling for these guys, Sojin. Focus on surviving. Look, you're crying over a guy, but there are people out there crying because they can't find jobs, or they're getting laid off, or they're sick. Jin was heartbroken after the breakup, so she decided to head to Kang-hoo's bar to drown her sorrows. Kang-hoo was already busy with someone else, so he suggested she come back tomorrow. But Sojin was determined to drink her troubles away right then and there. She was muttering under her breath about her ex-boyfriend, calling him all sorts of names. Meanwhile, Yan-woo's ex-girlfriend was also drowning her sorrows at the bar, complaining about how much of a jerk Yan-woo was. The two heartbroken women quickly bonded over their shared misery, and they spent the rest of the night commiserating and drinking. Sojin, feeling fiercely loyal to her new friend, decided to take matters into her own hands. She dragged her equally tipsy friend over to Yan-woo's place, ready to give him a piece of her mind. But Sojin gets super crazy when she drinks. She's like a different person, kind of like she gets possessed. Kang-hoon Sojin was insecure and was on the phone with his dad. He was freaking out because Sojin has a history of doing crazy things when she's drunk. Remember that time she put lemon powder in her mouth, blew it up like a balloon, and then ate it? Or that time she almost burned down the lab trying to do some alchemy? Anyway, Kang-hoon knew he was in for a wild night, and he was right. Sojin and her friend stumbled into Yan-woo's apartment just as he was trying to put together a super complicated jigsaw puzzle. He was already annoyed, and seeing two drunk girls at his doorstep didn't help. Yan-woo's ex-girlfriend broke down crying and begged him to take her back. Sojin, still swaying on her feet, managed to get one foot stuck in the doorway. Yan-woo was trying to push away his ex, saying he wasn't into that needy type. Now, Sojin's a big believer in destiny, and she couldn't believe Yan-woo was dismissing the idea of finding his one true love. She grabbed the chopsticks from her hair and went on a tirade about how shallow and insensitive he was. She said that someone like him didn't deserve love. Then, things got even more bizarre. Sojin grabbed a bottle of hair growth tonic and sprayed it at Yan-woo's face, yelling about him being a monster and cursed to be hairy forever. Yan-woo, taken by surprise, accidentally knocked over his puzzle and got covered in this weird hair tonic. His friends quickly dragged Sojin away before things escalated further, and Yan-woo raced to wash the sticky stuff off. Yan-woo, still reeling from the crazy night, gave Sojin's abandoned hair growth tonic a sniff. Nothing unusual. He figured it wasn't some kind of crazy potion, but then he did something a little strange. He shoved Sojin's abandoned shoe into his bag. He was clearly hoping he'd never see that crazy woman again. Just then, Kang-hoon showed up. Turns out, he knew Yan-woo before. He looked around at the state of Yan-woo's apartment, a bit bewildered. Yan-woo just shrugged it off and asked Kang-hoon to call a cab for his ex. Poor girl was heartbroken. But Kang-hoon gave her a pep talk. He told her it was a blessing in disguise, that she deserved a guy who'd love her for her. Plus, she had her whole life ahead of her. Yan-woo, watching from the doorway, was less than impressed. He told Kang-hoon that the girl was just after attention, not real love. He argued that self-love was the most important kind of love. He was all about being true to yourself, living your best life. But Kang-hoon didn't buy it. He thought Yan-woo was a player, and that he should be loyal to one woman. He was super annoyed that Yan-woo didn't even care about how he was hurting his ex. Kang-hoon stormed out, leaving Yan-woo standing there in shock. The next morning, Sojin woke up with a serious case of amnesia. She only vaguely remembered being dragged into an elevator by a friend. After some gentle prodding by her coworker, Sojin remembered spraying Yan-woo with the hair growth tonic. Meanwhile, Yan-woo was having a not-so-good day. He discovered that his freshly shaven sideburns were growing back. And guess what? It was the side that got sprayed with the mysterious liquid. He was starting to think Sojin's hair growth tonic was a real deal. After work one night, Sojin caught her ex-boyfriend canoodling with a junior coworker. She was devastated. He tried to blame her, saying she drove him to cheat by constantly talking about how he was her soulmate and that she couldn't live without him. He claimed she was the one who made him a two-timing jerk. He even blamed Sojin for all his past breakups, saying her genetic theory made him run for the hills. Sojin was furious. She decided to give her ex a taste of his own trick. She told him his hair loss wasn't stress. It was his genetics. She predicted he'd be bald within 3 years and his future kids would inherit his hair loss. But that wasn't all. He also had the prostate cancer gene and was likely to develop it by the time he was 40. And get this, he had the diabetes gene too, and would probably get it around age 44. Sojin warned him that the symptoms weren't noticeable now, but they would become more apparent as he aged. He was furious and wanted to fight her, but just then Kang-hoon appeared and intervened. Kang-hoon dragged Sojin away, and they ended up at his family's restaurant for dinner. Kang-hoon, determined to protect Sojin from more heartbreak, demanded that she let him screen her dates from now on. If he said no, she wasn't allowed to see them again. Sojin had always been obsessed with finding the perfect soulmate because her father had an unhappy marriage. She believed that true love could heal and save people. That's why she wanted to use DNA to find her ideal partner, someone she hadn't even met yet. Meanwhile, Yan-woo woke up to a horrifying discovery. His sideburns were growing longer and thicker. He was convinced it was a curse from Sojin. He couldn't believe his beard was growing into a full-blown goatee. He was mortified. He covered his beard at work and tried to avoid eye contact with everyone. As soon as he got to his office, he locked the door and shaved furiously. He knew he had to find out what caused this. But all he had was Sojin's name. He needed more information. Just then, he got a work notice. He had to visit the genetic center for a DNA confirmation. At the same time, Sojin was in the lab when a memory flashed back. She remembered cursing a bearded man. She had no idea who it was. Then, she got a text she had a meeting with a doctor at Sin Hospital. She instantly remembered the name Sin from her friend Do-hun's girlfriend. She quickly called her friend to ask about the night she got drunk. As her friend recounted the night's events, Sojin's memory started coming back, but she still couldn't remember the man she cursed. She nervously walked into the meeting hall, only to hear a colleague announce that the doctor had arrived. Yan-woo walked into the room, carrying a bouquet of flowers. Sojin turned around and saw him. He recognized her immediately and smirked, taking off his face mask and walking towards her. Sojin also recognized the man she'd sprayed with hair growth tonic, the man standing right in front of her. She quickly ducked her head and pretended she'd never seen him before. Yan-woo had figured out who Sojin was as soon as he walked in, but he was worried she wouldn't admit to what she did, so he played it cool, pretending not to recognize her. He planned to wait for concrete evidence before exposing her. Sojin, seeing that Yan-woo wasn't accusing her, assumed he didn't recognize the crazy woman from the night before. She relaxed her guard, but their colleagues quickly noticed the unusual growth on Yan-woo's face. Sojin quickly explained that the super hair formula was only compatible with her ex-boyfriend's DNA, so it wouldn't work on him. her boss asked So-jin to take Yan-woo to pick up his test results from the hospital. On their way, So-jin asked him if his facial hair was a family trait. Yan-woo was about to reveal the truth about the curse, but a tour group walked by, pushing them together. The group was discussing hair growth, and Yan-woo was instantly intrigued. He asked So-jin what they were researching. She explained they were developing a DNA-based hair growth serum called Super Hair. The clinical trials were showing amazing results. Within 7 hours, mice had grown thick, rabbit-like fur. Yan-woo was immediately frightened and eager to know what would happen to his body. Sun-din said it depended on his DNA and hormone levels. However, if he used a hair growth product that was compatible with his genes, his eyebrows, beard, nose hair, belly hair, armpit hair, and even his whole body might become covered in hair. Yan-woo felt like he was falling into an abyss but still forced a smile. He reasoned that modern science and technology had permanent hair removal and depilatory creams, so he wasn't afraid of not being able to deal with the deal. After discussing the hair issue, the two got to the main topic. Yan-woo's hospital had a midwife named Young A, who was diagnosed with an abnormal chromosome. The baby could die in the womb before even being born. Even if it was born, its chances of survival were very low. Even if it managed to survive, it would be a deformed child. Yan-woo said he would suggest the pregnant woman have an abortion. So-jin said there was a similar case in the past, and the baby only lived for a day, but the parents held a celebration for the baby and sang a birthday song. The child's parents said that even if they only got to meet the child for a day, they wouldn't regret choosing to have the baby. Yan-woo understood the implication in So-jin's words, but the current situation was not only about the fetus, but also the pregnant woman herself had pulmonary hypertension. As an obstetrician, he always put the pregnant woman's health first. So-jin couldn't bear it. Perhaps for some people, that moment of meeting was more precious than anything else in the world. Yan-woo believed that matters related to life weren't about being brave. He just wanted to ensure the safety of the pregnant woman first. Before leaving, Yan-woo told her she had to let go of the lamp to see a new world. She also had to let go of one side to have a new perspective. Sun-di, hearing Yan-woo's words, unconsciously looked down at her feet and remembered her lost shoe. Yan-woo, using the excuse of needing to discuss the matter further, asked for So-jin's contact information. After seeing Yan-woo off, Sun-di became worried about whether he still remembered her crazy actions that night. Just then, a text message came in, and Yan-woo's message said it was an honor to step into her experimental world. This proved that he remembered everything she had said and also knew she was the girl from that night. After work, So-jin took out her favorite perfume, let her puppy smell the fragrance, and told the puppy to go find out which man was wearing this scent. To find a partner based on genes, the puppy stopped next to a man with a beautiful back. So-jin was happy, but the man suddenly turned around. Their eyes met, and So-jin's hopes vanished in a blink of an eye because the man was Kang-hoon. So-jin leaned close to smell the fragrance on Kang-hoon, but she couldn't smell anything. She approached him again and asked Kang-hoon to smell if she had a fragrance, but he just teased her and said she was just playing with fire too many times. So-jin then said she was just doing an experiment. But through this smelling, she realized that she and Kang-hoon were not genetic partners. Before parting, Kang-hoon gave So-jin a new bad guy repellent alarm bell just by pressing the button. He would receive a distress signal. So-jin was touched by Kang-hoon's concern and care. She knew that Kang-hoon was a man who would risk his life for her, but she wasn't the only one he was willing to sacrifice himself for. On the other hand, Yan-woo's hair growth situation was getting worse by the day. Desperate, he called So-jin and asked her to come to his workplace tomorrow to check why his beard was growing like that. So-jin couldn't refuse, so she obediently agreed. However, she felt this was very strange. The essence was made specifically for her ex-boyfriend's genes. Why was it causing abnormalities for Yan-woo? The next day, So-jin went to meet Yan-woo as planned. He immediately took out the vial of essence she had sprayed on herself the previous night and questioned her. But So-jin stubbornly refused to admit it and claimed she suffered from unconscious actions while dreaming, so she didn't know what happened. Yan-woo then brought out the shoe she had dropped, leaving So-jin speechless. He demanded that she take responsibility for what she had done. Seeing Yan-woo's beard, So-jin couldn't help but get excited and reach out to touch it. The feeling left Yan-woo frozen for a few seconds. So-jin wanted to check the other side of his face to compare the hair follicles on both sides. However, Yan-woo had prepared samples and gave them to her. He hoped this nightmare would end soon. So-jin apologized for breaking into his house and turning him into a scary, hairy man. To make up for it, she would take full responsibility for this matter. Therefore, she proceeded to take samples to conduct experiments. So-jin discovered that Yan-woo was hotter than usual. He said that he only felt that way when a girl suddenly approached him. Hearing this, So-jin wanted to take the samples to dry them. However, she couldn't open the window of the room. Yan-woo came over to open it for her, and the two were close together. It was just Yan-woo's subsequent words that left So-jin stunned. He demanded that she give him the antidote within 24 hours, otherwise he would make her pay in a different way. Yan-woo went home for dinner that night, but his mother was very cold to him. Yan-woo wanted to go out for dinner with his mother, but she said she wouldn't go anywhere unless his husband came home. Yan-woo couldn't help but remember when he was a child. That day, things were scattered all over the house, and his foot was pierced by broken glass. His drunk mother told him that his father would never come home from now on. Only the two of them would live together from then on. Yan-woo felt sad inside and went to Kang-hoon's restaurant to drink. He asked Kang-hoon what it felt like to only care about one person. Kang-hoon said it was like the earth being round. Once you love someone, even if you die or they die, the love won't change. Yan-woo argued that if one person changed, the other should change as well, seeing his mother wait in vain every day. He hated not changing more than changing. Seeing his mother waiting in vain every day, Yan Wu hated the fact that she didn't change more than he hated the idea of changing himself. Kang Hoon instantly understood why Yan Wu kept changing girlfriends. He advised him to try living alone and not loving anyone, but Yan Wu disagreed because he liked women. The next day, the pregnant woman, Young Ah, came to the hospital. Yan Wu had previously informed her about her condition and the babies. Watching other pregnant women walk by, Young Ah's mood turned gloomy and she started having bad thoughts. During a mission, Kang Hoon, a firefighter, rescued Young Ah to prevent anything bad from happening to her. Before leaving, Kang Hoon left his phone number with her and told her to call him if she needed anything. Young Ah wanted to thank Kang Hoon before she passed away, but he was on duty and couldn't hear the phone ringing. At the same time, So Jin found out that Young Ah had the death gene. People with this gene could be driven to suicide by even a small argument. She immediately called Yan Wu to let him know. Yan Wu didn't believe in the so-called gene theory. But then he heard the nurse shout that a pregnant woman was having suicidal thoughts. Yan Wu immediately ran to the rooftop and found out it was Young Ah. Young Ah told Yan Wu that her greatest wish was to have a family, so she really wanted to have a baby. However, Yan Wu told her that only she could decide this. He didn't want to advise her to make a decision that would be dangerous for both her and the baby. Young Ah thought that Yan Wu would give her different advice, but he didn't. Not wanting to be separated from her child, Young Ah wanted to go to a happier world with the baby. Yan Wu agreed to help her deliver the baby, but Young Ah no longer believed it. To save Young Ah, Yan Wu used So Jin's words to persuade her and promised to respect her wish. Even if they only had one day together, he would try his best to let her see her child. Young Ah couldn't accept the fact that her child would leave her and still stood on the edge of the rooftop to reassure Young Ah. So Jin also climbed onto the wall and urged Young Ah not to give up. Seeing that Young Ah's emotions had calmed down a bit, So Jin reached out to her. Young Ah wanted to grab So Jin's hand, but at the last minute changed her mind. So Jin quickly pushed Young Ah, but she herself fell straight down. In a moment of life and death, Yan Wu suddenly rushed over, embraced So Jin and fell with her. So Jin thought she was going to die, but when she opened her eyes, she saw Dr. Yan Wu holding her tight. They both landed safely on the air mattress. Kang Hoon rushed over to check on So Jin and scolded her, saying she should know when to stop meddling. Yan Wu calmly teased So Jin, saying he was lucky, so she would be lucky too. It was then that So Jin learned that Kang Hoon and Yan Wu were friends. Yan Wu was equally surprised to know that So Jin and Kang Hoon knew each other. Although Kang Hoon suggested they both go to hospital for a checkup, Yan Wu went straight to check on Young Ah and the baby. Watching Yan Wu's figure, So Jin froze. During the fall, her nose had accidentally been under Yan Wu's armpit. She smelled his sweat, but strangely, it was a pleasant scent. While having drinks with Kang Hoon, So Jin remembered her late father. She regretted not noticing his abnormal behavior and not caring for him more. None of his last calls were to his family. Her father's passing was an unbearable pain for So Jin. It was the same for Kang Hoon, who always blamed himself for not being able to save So Jin's father years ago. Kang Hoon advised her to find a man who loved her fiercely like her father, a man who was so attached to her that she would want to kick him away. After saying goodbye to So Jin, Kang Hoon gave her a heat patch and told her to heat it up and apply it to her back. However, So Jin believed that Yan Wu was in more pain than her. Lying in bed, So Jin recalled Yan Wu's words comforting the pregnant woman, saying that meeting your child is more valuable than anything else in the world. At the same time, Yan Wu couldn't forget the image of So Jin risking her life to save someone. He remembered So Jin saying she didn't want to see anyone die in front of her again. Thinking about each other, they were both gradually drawn to the other. So Jin was still haunted by Yan Wu's scent. To test whether it was love at first sight, she decided to steal his scent. Her plan was to collect Yan Wu's sweat for research. So Jin sweetly asked Kang Hoon to invite Yan Wu to play basketball. Kang Hoon reluctantly agreed. At the basketball court, So Jin held a cheer sign, her eyes never leaving Yan Wu. Seeing his sweat dripping onto the ground, she felt so heartbroken. After the game, Kang Hoon couldn't find So Jin. Actually, she had secretly stolen Yan Wu's jersey. However, So Jin's actions didn't escape Yan Wu's notice. Back in her lab, So Jin immediately got to work. She soaked Yan Wu's jersey in water to extract the scent. The level of preference for that scent would become the measure of the DNA soulmate. The reason was that sweat scent represents the person's immune genes, and women can instinctively recognize their own immune genes. Meanwhile, Yan Wu had no idea he had become a test subject. He went to an art exhibition with his adopted sister, Mayun. A painting of a mother holding her child in her arms caught Yan Wu's attention. Usually, a painting about motherly love would convey warmth and happiness, but this painting made viewers feel fear and sadness. The artist explained that those were her emotions when she gave birth to her first child. The baby felt like it was digging deep into her heart, stabbing her. It grabbed her feet, broke her wings, dug a grave, and buried her. Yan Wu exclaimed that Miyun would surely be sad to hear those words. The two looked at each other and laughed. Mayun was actually the artist's adopted daughter. They weren't biologically related. The artist's husband had passed away, and her relationship with her two daughters was also very cold. Listening to Mayun's story about the artist, Yan Wu suddenly remembered So Jin. Her bright, lively look was unforgettable. For the first time in his life, he felt curious about a woman. Finally, So Jin successfully extracted Yan Wu's body scent from the jersey. Just a whiff of it, and she was captivated by its sweet, alluring fragrance. It was a scent she had never smelled on anyone else, sweet and mysterious, making her heart race. So Jin believed Yan Wu was her destiny, but the scent was just the first step. Before proceeding to the next step, she had to confirm whether he was a rogue with wandering genes. If Yan Wu was a playboy, she would immediately stay away from him. To convince Yan Wu to agree to a gene test, So Jin followed Kang Hoon to a dinner party with him and his friends. She dressed up beautifully, but the main dish of the dinner was octopus. While eating, Sojin mentioned that octopuses have reproductive organs on their tentacles, so they mate using their tentacles. Yanwoo argued that octopuses are good communicators and have a lot of maternal love. They even have 3 hearts. Kang-hoon wondered why an octopus with 3 hearts didn't love with its heart, but with its tentacles. Because of this characteristic, Sojin named a type of gene after the octopus's characteristics, wandering tentacles, and Yanwoo's friend suggested he get tested for that gene because he had a lot of girlfriends. Yanwoo ignored it and turned to attack Sojin for taking his jersey to do experiments. Sojin pretended like it wasn't her and picked up her bowl to eat. But because of her guilty conscience, she choked while eating the octopus. Yanwoo quickly helped her, causing a piece of the octopus tentacle to stick to his colleague's forehead. Feeling ashamed, Sojin ran outside for some fresh air. Yanwoo followed her, asking why she stole his jersey and suspecting she had some strange hobbies. Sojin explained that sweat reveals body scent, and through scent, one can tell if someone is compatible with them or not. Yanwoo curiously asked what his scent was like. Sojin frankly admitted she liked his scent. She also mentioned that during their near-death experience, she felt like she could see that scent right in front of her. It was so vivid. Yanwoo thought Sojin was subtly confessing her feelings to him. Sojin hurriedly explained that it was only the testing phase for now. Just then, Kang-hoon came running over, interrupting Sojin and urging her to go home. Yanwoo proactively offered to give Sojin a ride since their houses were on the same way. However, Kang-hoon refused because Sojin's house was near his. Then, he put his arm around Sojin and left to get his consent for the gene test. Sojin brought Yanwoo the hair loss inhibitor, the result of her research, as a gift. When she applied the ointment to him, they were very close, and both of them felt their heartbeats speed up. To change the subject, Sojin asked Yanwoo if he had ever been attracted to the scent of someone of the opposite sex. She even invited Yanwoo to smell her scent and asked if he liked it. Yanwoo moved closer to Sojin, making her jump back. Sojin revealed her true intention. She wanted Yanwoo to agree to let her take a gene sample from him. She honestly told him that her past boyfriends all had the wandering tentacles gene, so she wanted to confirm if he had that gene. However, Yanwoo didn't believe in Sojin's method of recognizing love through scent. He also didn't think genes could determine a relationship between a man and a woman, so he refused her request. Sojin had to temporarily give up. The next day was the anniversary of Sojin's father's death. To mend the family's relationship, Kang-hoon invited Sojin and her mother to his family's restaurant. Sojin placed chopsticks for her father. Kang-hoon's father poured alcohol for Sojin's father, promising to take good care of Sojin. He would also take care of Sojin's family. Sojin said thank you. The warm atmosphere suddenly disappeared when Sojin's mother and sister arrived. Kang-hoon tried to bring everyone together. Sojin's sister bluntly said that Kang-hoon had a scent that they didn't have, the scent of humanity. Sojin's mother then said that a man's wish was to have dinner with his family. She criticized her husband for being useless, and reminded her daughter that even though they were family, if they didn't live properly, it would only be more troublesome. Sojin blamed her mother for never appreciating her father's sacrifices. The mother and daughter exchanged harsh words. Sojin's mother, sister, and herself all believed that the other person had caused their father to seek death. Sitting at the table next door, Yanwoo heard the argument. It was then that he knew that the artist was Sojin's mother, and the neglected child in the painting was her. After a heated argument with her family, Sojin ran out of the house. Kang-hoon wanted to follow her, but his father stopped him. Give her some space, he advised. Sometimes, a little time alone is what she needs. Meanwhile, Yanwoo found Sojin crying uncontrollably. To comfort her, he offered her a genetic test. Sojin was overjoyed and immediately asked him for his jersey, receiving Yanwoo's number 7 jersey. Sojin nervously prayed that he wouldn't have the womanizer gene. The results showed that Yanwoo possessed all the best genes. However, Sojin was stunned when she read the last line of the report. Yanwoo had the octopus tentacle gene at the highest possible level. Sojin desperately concluded that Yanwoo wasn't just 2 timing, he was 7 timing. What Sojin didn't know was that Kang-hoon and Yanwoo both wore jersey number 7. It was possible that Yanwoo had mistakenly grabbed the wrong one. All hope crumbled. And Sojin didn't know how to face Yanwoo anymore. Ironically, the hospital director assigned Sojin to Yanwoo's hospital for a collaborative project, to verify whether Yanwoo was a playboy or not. Sojin secretly started observing him. She saw him gently tying a patient's shoelace, and she saw nurses looking at him with admiration. When her presentation ended, Yanwoo was the one who applauded the loudest. The other nurse gave Sojin a piercing look and deliberately bumped into her in the hallway. Sojin concluded that Yanwoo was a central air conditioner constantly radiating charm towards women. While using the restroom, Sojin heard vomiting sounds coming from the next stall. A bottle of medication rolled out. A woman emerged from the bathroom, looking distressed, and Sojin approached her. She noticed that the woman wasn't healthy, appearing thinner than she should be. Sojin advised the woman to stop taking weight loss pills, explaining that it could lead to hormonal imbalances and depression. But the woman ignored her advice, insisting on losing weight. She said her husband preferred women with model figures, while she was overweight and saggy. Her husband's mistress was even younger than their son, so she had to fight for him. Sojin felt empathy for the woman's situation. The woman continued to confide, saying that her husband had initially loved her and their children. His first affair happened when she was pregnant. After getting caught, he apologized and begged for forgiveness, but ever since then, he had constantly cheated, changing partners like shirts. The wandering eye gene was the root of all evil, Sojin thought. At that moment, she didn't know that the woman in front of her was Yanwoo's mother. While Sojin was talking to Yanwoo's mother, Yanwoo was meeting with his father. His father, the hospital director, wanted to hand over the hospital to him. However, Yanwoo only wanted to become a skilled obstetrician. Since childhood, witnessing his father's infidelity, his mother turning cruel, and himself being ignored, Yanwoo had lost all affection for his parents. He didn't even care about his father's new mistress. She was even younger than him. On her way home from work, So-jin bumped into her ex-boyfriend, who was arguing with another woman. The woman suspected he was cheating. So-jin couldn't believe it. After betraying her to be with this other girl, her ex was already moving on to someone else. She was furious. So-jin decided to expose him. She called the other woman and made them both witness his shameless behavior. He was caught red-handed. When he realized he was busted, he exploded in anger, taking it out on So-jin. Watching him walk away, So-jin remembered how she had begged him to stay. Now she realized that some people are just bad news, and it's better to get rid of them before they cause more trouble. She was still worried about Yan-woo's womanizer gene. So she sent him a text. She told him that his gene was at the highest level and suggested he visit a temple to find peace and avoid certain foods like eel, garlic chives, and oysters. Yan-woo didn't believe her. He insisted on meeting up to talk things through. They met at a park. So-jin told him sincerely that even if he had a serious illness, and they didn't have much time left, she'd still be there for him, but she couldn't accept that he might have a womanizer gene. Yan-woo was surprised to find out that she had already gone on a date with him. He was clueless about what So-jin had gone through with other cheaters. She'll never find anything good. So-jin didn't want to get hurt again, so she had the genetic test. She trusted DNA more than human feelings, because DNA never changes. Yan-woo thought So-jin's idea was ridiculous. He felt like she was judging him unfairly. He didn't understand why she was accusing him of being a playboy. So-jin argued that his genes said it all. Even if he wasn't cheating now, he would eventually. Disappointed, Yan-woo went to a bar to drown his sorrows. He met Mi-yoon. He asked her if she thought he was a playboy. Mi-yoon said he was good at capturing the best moments for women. She admitted that they couldn't forget him. Meanwhile, So-jin was talking to Kang-hoon. He told her she couldn't find her other half by looking at genetic tests. She had to know someone really well to see if they're right for you. He didn't want to see her heartbroken again, so he invited her over for ramen. As they walked down the stairs, So-jin leaned on Kang-hoon and accidentally fell into him. She caught the scent of flowers on his shirt. He quickly stood up and warned her to stop sniffing other men, or people would think she was weird. When she got home, So-jin put away all the files she had about Yan-woo. Memories of him flooded her mind. Though she still had feelings for him, she told herself, short-term pain is better than long-term suffering, and decided to move on. However, as she was about to burn his genetic report, So-jin discovered that Yan-woo possessed the healing gene. This gene could counteract the unhappiness gene in her body. Hope was rekindled. So-jin wanted to apologize to Yan-woo and continue researching his genes. While she was unsure how to approach him, So-jin ran into him at Kang-hoon's place. Kang-hoon brought out a bowl of ramen and chatted with So-jin. They were reminiscing and laughing. Yan-woo watched them, feeling a little uneasy. After a few bites, he left. Walking out of the restaurant, Yan-woo was surprised that Kang-hoon, usually a man of few words, was being so talkative. The next day, Yan-woo and So-jin were counseling a young pregnant woman. Her unborn child had the potential to inherit blindness from her grandfather. The news was devastating, and the woman confronted Yan-woo, asking why he had the same gene but was perfectly healthy. Turns out, this young woman was Yan-woo's father's new girlfriend. She had come to Yan-woo to prove her existence. She had no idea that Yan-woo had already recognized her from a long time ago because his mother had confronted him with photos of her. Yan-woo warned her that his father wasn't a faithful man. She shouldn't think she could keep him with just promises. Furious, the woman left. So-jin accidentally learned that Yan-woo's father was a cheater. She remembered what she had said to Yan-woo and felt guilty for equating him with his father. She chased after Yan-woo to apologize, but he coldly said it was his father's business and had nothing to do with him. He also made it clear that he didn't believe or care about her gene research. So-jin walked home feeling sad. On her way, she noticed someone following her. Remembering Kang-hoon's story about a murder on this street, So-jin panicked. She ran while calling Kang-hoon, but he didn't answer. She was terrified and tripped, falling. The man was closing in on her, and she shut her eyes in fear. Just as she thought the worst was about to happen, Yan-woo suddenly appeared. A moment later, Kang-hoon arrived, out of breath. Hearing that the man had run away, he chased after him. It was So-jin's ex-boyfriend. He had come to get revenge, blaming her for ruining his relationship. Kang-hoon gave him a good beating. Yan-woo helped So-jin up. Gathering all her courage, she said to Yan-woo, "Your healing gene could bring people back from the brink of death and help people who are suffering find happiness. It's really essential for someone with the unhappiness gene like her. That's why she wanted to learn more about you." Yan-woo was frustrated by So-jin's constant reference to her experiments involving their feelings. He leaned in closer to her and said that was an experiment. Yan-woo gently leaned down to kiss the woman he had feelings for. Just as their lips were about to touch, So-jin headbutted him hard on the nose, almost turning a romantic moment into a crime scene. So-jin misunderstood that Yan-woo wanted to do some kind of experiment on her, so she took the lead to kiss him. Just as he was about to kiss her, she pushed him away. Yan-woo couldn't understand So-jin's logic. Clearly, before he kissed her, he said that men and women didn't necessarily need to rely on DNA to understand each other. Physical contact was the most direct way to test if there was a feeling between them. After dealing with his ex-boyfriend, Kang-hoon refused Yan-woo's offer to take So-jin home and drove her home himself. He had just seen the scene where the two of them almost kissed. He was very uncomfortable, but he didn't notice that someone had taken a picture of Yan-woo and So-jin's intimate moment in the shadows. Before leaving, Kang-hoon told So-jin that even if she wanted to choose a boyfriend, she shouldn't have random crushes. Watching So-jin close the door, he turned around to find Yan-woo. He knew that Yan-woo had dated many women and frankly told him that So-jin was someone he wanted to protect. Yan-woo shouldn't just kiss her out of interest. Yan-woo realized that Kang-hoon was interested in So-jin, asking if he liked her. Kang-hoon instinctively dodged the question. So-jin was family to him. Yan-woo countered, If she's family, you shouldn't interfere with her love life. When she got home, Sojin couldn't help but remember Yeon-Yu's unfinished kiss, making her heart flutter. Moreover, at the moment Yeon-Yu rushed to save her, she felt as if an invisible string was connecting him to her. Her colleague Ari gave her a theory: in this world there exists a simultaneity that transcends time and space. Even in different times and spaces, we can still share the same vision and the same feeling. This theory was similar to the telepathic gene that Sojin always believed in. She believed that the existence of the telepathic gene would be proven in the future. After that kiss, Sojin disappeared for several days. Yeon-Yu was very upset. She had clearly agreed to study his genes, but she wasn't around. Knowing that his colleagues would go to the Gene Research Institute where Sojin worked, he asked to go with them. At this time, an uninvited guest arrived at the Research Institute. The woman was a weather forecaster. She was furious because Sojin had recorded the test results truthfully. The report clearly stated that before the age of 40, her ovaries would stop functioning, and she would have fewer pregnancies than an average person. The important thing was that she was about to marry into a wealthy family. If her future husband's family saw this report, she might not even have a chance to step through the door. She threatened Sojin to change the report and record only her advantages. As a researcher, Sojin refused the woman's request. The test results could not be changed at will. The woman was enraged and grabbed Sojin's hair to take out her anger. Yeon-Yu arrived just in time. To help Sojin escape the awkward situation, he intentionally made his colleague, who was prone to fainting at the sight of blood, pass out. He then drew everyone's attention and asked to speak to the woman in private. Yeon-Yu smoothly resolved the issue for Sojin and then intentionally waited for her to finish work before driving her home. Seeing that Sojin was covering her eye injury and looking depressed, he took the initiative to invite her to karaoke to relieve her mood. Sojin was a little hesitant but was infected by Yeon-Yu's enthusiasm as he sang and danced. She didn't mind that she was singing badly and sang loudly, releasing all her negative emotions. On the way home, Sojin complained that Yeon-Yu had become a different person. He was too kind to her, making her heart beat strangely fast. Yeon-Yu once again suggested that Sojin could continue to use him as an experiment. The two words experiment made Sojin think of that kiss. She suspected that Yeon-Yu had some motive. However, she was still delighted to be able to study Yeon-Yu's genes. Ari returned and interrupted their conversation. Seeing the injury on Sojin's face, Ari thought Yeon-Yu had hit her. Since Sojin had discovered Yeon-Yu's scent, she had felt that it smelled like sewage. Knowing that Yeon-Yu had a promiscuous gene, she disliked him even more, secretly calling him a jerk. Ari wanted to escape Yeon-Yu as soon as possible, so she asked Sojin to go out to eat. As soon as she finished speaking, Yeon-Yu's stomach grumbled. Sojin enthusiastically invited Yeon-Yu to join them for dinner. The three of them went to a restaurant and sat at separate tables. Ari told them about her volunteer work at the church today. Miraculously, being next to the priest made her anxiety fade and she felt very reassured. The priest had been an orphan since he was a child, and his mother had died in a fire. He grew up in an orphanage. His mother loved to plant flowers in a greenhouse. The priest was probably like his mother. Just getting close to him, you could smell a faint scent of flowers on him. Ari's words made Yeon-Yu remember something from a long time ago. When he was a child, his father had an affair. He stormed into the woman's house and smashed a pot of flowers in the garden. The woman's son came out. He was a boy about Yeon-Yu's age. Returning to reality, Yeon-Yu, wanting to continue to score points with Sojin, went to a flower shop to buy a bouquet of flowers for her. But he didn't see a man in a hat who seemed to be following him. Just as Yeon-Yu finished picking out the flowers, Sojin, who was conducting an experiment, suddenly started sneezing continuously. She was allergic to pollen, but there was nothing in the lab that could cause her allergy. Yeon-Yu brought the flowers to the research institute, but Sojin had returned to her old school to attend a forum. Sojin told the students about the miraculous telepathic connection between two people in different times and spaces. Just believe in the miraculous reaction of DNA, and who knows, maybe your significant other will walk in through that door next. As soon as she finished speaking, someone pushed open the door. Sojin was stunned to see Yeon-Yu standing at the door, holding a bouquet of flowers. This coincidental encounter at this moment felt like destiny. Yeon-Yu walked toward her with the flowers, the distance gradually closing. Sojin started sneezing again, spitting all over Yeon-Yu's face. Sojin was very confused. She had been sneezing non-stop since noon. Yeon-Yu said that he was at the flower shop at noon, and the flowers hadn't been picked out yet when Sojin started experiencing allergy symptoms. There was only one explanation: telepathy. Sojin led Yeon-Yu to her secret space. This study room contained many of Sojin's secrets. Sojin took a globe from the top of the closet and said it was her time capsule. Inside was the movie ticket she had wanted to watch with her senior from college, the one she was dating at the time. Unfortunately, that guy was a two-timer and ended up going with another girl. There was also a music player. It only contained one song, the song she was planning to listen to with her future boyfriend. Yeon-Yu wanted to listen to it, but the player was out of battery. He suggested they wait for it to charge and then listen together. Sojin was a little flustered and didn't know what to say. Yeon-Yu didn't push her anymore and suggested they go out to eat. They decided to say the dish they wanted to eat at the same time. Unexpectedly, they both said dumpling soup. The repeated coincidences made Sojin believe even more that she and Yeon-Yu had telepathy. She confided in Kang-hun that she had never felt so in sync with any guy before. Kang-hun reminded her that being in sync was built on understanding a person's personality and shared experiences. But Sojin was easily moved and easily developed blind feelings for others. Kang Hun knew that the person Sojin was talking about was Yan Yu. He warned Sojin that the most undateable man in the world was Yan Yu. Because Yan Yu couldn't give her what she wanted, Sojin didn't understand why Kang Hun was so agitated. Arai explained directly that it was the feeling of saving someone, and then that person tries to get close to you. Kang Hun happened to meet Mia-yoon on the road. To thank Kang Hun for saving her, Mia-yoon gave Kang Hun a new book she had just published. She also took the initiative to save Kang Hun's number, so she could call him for help if she ever needed it. Kang Hun asked her if Yan Yu would be angry if she just saved people's numbers. Mia-yoon explained that she and Yan Yu weren't in that kind of relationship. For her, Yan Yu was a Friday boyfriend because she dated a different person every day. Kang Hun couldn't accept that Mia-yoon and Yan Yu viewed dating and breaking up like a game. People like them should be together, not hurting innocent people. After saying this, he returned the book to Mia-yoon. To test if there was truly telepathy between her and Yan Yu, Sojin made plans to go out to eat with him. The condition was that each person would choose one of two locations without telling the other what they had chosen to see if they would pick the same place. They went their separate ways, looking for each other's figure along the way. Very soon, they both heard a voice calling from behind. They happily turned around and found that the person calling Sojin was Kang Hun and the person behind Yan Yu was Mia-yoon. Mia-yoon accidentally ran into Yan Yu and asked him to have a drink, but he refused. She reminded Yan Yu not to forget their gathering this week. At the same time, Sojin was very unhappy that Kang Hun was the one who appeared behind her. Kang Hun didn't understand why she was so agitated. Seeing a boy on a bicycle about to crash into an elderly woman, he rushed out and hugged the boy, throwing him to the side. The woman was fine, but he was injured on his hand and knee. Sojin applied medicine to Kang Hun. Looking at his injured calves, she felt very sad. If Kang Hun's mother were still alive, she definitely wouldn't let him do dangerous jobs like being a firefighter. Kang Hun felt that it was just as important for men to find a good job as it was for women to find a good man. He loved his job. When Sojin leaned forward, he smelled the perfume on her, and their eyes met. Suddenly, he felt very embarrassed. He ran away before he could finish applying the medicine. When she got home, Sojin was fuming. She had very seriously explained telepathy to Yan Yu, but they hadn't found each other. She didn't know what she did wrong. Before going to sleep, she angrily texted Yan Yu, blaming him for the failed experiment. The next day, Sojin was determined to find out why telepathy failed. She decided on two locations, the Han River and Namsan Mountain. From 7 to 8, she prayed that she would definitely meet Yan Yu and transmit telepathy to him. At 8:30, Kang Hun appeared behind her. She suspected that her telepathy had been blocked and transmitted to Kang Hun. Just then, her phone rang. Sojin received a text from Yan Yu that he had sent the previous night, a photo of himself in front of a snack shop on the Han River. Sojin confirmed that out of the two locations, Namsan Mountain and the Han River, both she and Yan Yu had chosen the Han River. As for why they didn't meet, maybe Yan Yu was also being interfered with. She was very curious about who the interloper was. Realizing that the experiment had been interfered with by external forces, Sojin called Yan Yu and asked to meet and talk. Yan Yu suggested a few meeting times, but Sojin rejected them all. She specifically decided on the day and time. Yan Yu was very worried about his situation, being led around by Sojin. That evening, Yan Yu went to a gathering that Mia-yoon had invited him to earlier. Most of the people at the gathering had open views on love, especially Mia-yoon. She was a faithful practitioner of polyamory. A director talked to Mia-yoon about polyamory. Mia-yoon didn't hide her thoughts. At the age of 28, she started dating multiple men at the same time because she loved dating but hated that two people would hurt each other trying to possess each other. The director asked cryptically, "Did you experience something bad when you were young?" According to him, dating multiple men at the same time was a sign of emotional deprivation, implying that Mia-yoon was abnormal. After saying this, the director began to molest Mia-yoon. Mia-yoon wanted to leave, but he grabbed her hand and groped her all over. Yan Yu went over to rescue Mia-yoon. He comforted her, saying that if she chose a different path than the majority, she shouldn't care about hurtful words. The Mia-yoon he knew was always confident. Mia-yoon wanted to know Yan Yu's views on polyamory. Yan Yu honestly said that he couldn't accept it at first, but he eventually did. He liked to maintain a comfortable distance from his partners, not too far or too close, just right. His decision to date Mia-yoon, a polyamorous person, was also his choice. Even though she was just a Friday girlfriend, he was always full of anticipation every time they dated. Unfortunately, Mia-yoon disappeared for half a year, and they eventually went their separate ways. Yan Yu wanted to see Sojin, so he invited her to stargaze tomorrow night. Sojin, who loves astronomy, immediately agreed. Before leaving, Sojin called Kang Hun and told him she was going stargazing and wouldn't be home tonight. She asked Kang Hun to help her walk the dog. Knowing that Sojin would be sleeping out, and that Yan Yu was the one she was with, Kang Hun immediately blew up. Earlier, he had heard from Yan Yu's coworker that Yan Yu had outlined many battle plans to trap Sojin. His coworker said that Yan Yu was a master of love, and once he had a plan, no one could beat him. Yan Yu took Sojin to the spot, set up a tent, prepared equipment, and enjoyed barbecue while they were at it. Kang Hun was worried that Sojin would fall for the trap and rushed to the campsite. He anxiously searched for their figures. Just then, Mia-yoon, who was also camping there, saw him. Mia-yoon silently followed behind him. Yan Yu picked up a piece of barbecue and brought it to Sojin's mouth when Kang Hun's voice interrupted their world. Yan Yu could tell at a glance that Kang Hun had come to disrupt things. Sojin believed that it was just a coincidence and pulled Kang Hun down to stargaze with them. Sojin rubbed her hands, complaining about the cold. Yan Yu kindly put a blanket over her. Kang Hun snatched the blanket and put it over his own legs, then took off his jacket and put it on Sojin. Yan Yu wasn't about to be outdone, grabbing Kang Hun's jacket and putting it on himself. The two young men were competing childishly. Poor Sojin ended up shivering in the cold. They didn't realize this, continuing to compete. Yan Yu fed Sojin food, and Kang Hun immediately opened his mouth and swallowed it down. Yan Yu deliberately picked up a hot piece of food, and Kang Hun fell for the trap. But even though he was so burned that he was gritting his teeth, he still praised the food as delicious. Sojin didn't realize they were competing, but instead she misunderstood that they were putting on a show of brotherhood for her. Unable to stand being left out, she got up to go to the bathroom. As soon as Sojin left, the two men spoke frankly. Yan Yu blamed Kang Hun for meddling. Kang Hun said that Sojin needed a man who would always cling to her. Until that man appeared, he would always protect Sojin. Moreover, he understood Yan Yu's attitude toward relationships and would definitely prevent Sojin and Yan Yu from getting together. Sojin returned, and the two men stopped talking. Just then, Kang Hun suddenly got a call to go on duty and had to leave first. The light bulb was gone, and Yan Yu finally sighed in relief. He was jealous that Sojin and Kang Hun's relationship was better than it seemed. Sojin said that they had grown up together. Ever since she was little, if Kang Hun got hurt, she would get sick too. Therefore, in her subconscious, Kang Hun was absolutely not allowed to get hurt. The two of them stood up and looked at the stars. Yan Yu took out Sojin's music player. He had fixed it, hoping to listen to the song inside with Sojin. The music played. Looking up at the starry sky, Sojin confided that ever since she broke up with her senior, she wanted to cry every time she listened to this song. But at this time, she felt it was very beautiful. Yan Yu made a request. He had listened to this song with her. From now on, he was Sojin's destined man. As soon as he finished speaking, the atmosphere suddenly became hazy. Unexpectedly, another light bulb suddenly appeared. Mayun followed Kang Hun, accidentally getting lost. She wandered around and couldn't find her way back to the campsite, so she had to go to Yan Yu. Yan Yu wanted to introduce them, but Mayun took the initiative to say that she was Yan Yu's ex-girlfriend. Knowing that Mayun had met Yan Yu on that night of testing telepathy, Sojin guessed that Mayun was the other person who had interfered with their telepathy. Yan Yu was unhappy that the experiment had failed and proposed to do it again. This time, the rules would be decided by him. If the experiment was successful, he hoped that Sojin would agree to officially date him. Yan Yu designated two locations, the aquarium and the art museum. They would choose a location based on their desires to see if they could meet up in the end. Sojin believed it was true. Unexpectedly, Yan Yu had prepared thoroughly. On the day of the experiment, Yan Yu told his co-worker to secretly follow Sojin and report her whereabouts to him at any time. His co-worker followed Sojin on the subway, while Yan Yu drove and followed on the road. Unfortunately, the co-worker carelessly lost track of Sojin, disrupting Yan Yu's plan. Having to choose one of the two, Yan Yu considered it for a while and decided to go to the aquarium. Unfortunately, he didn't see Sojin there. At this time, he received a call from Sojin. Yan Yu was about to speak when he heard the artwork commentary coming from the phone. He realized that Sojin was at the art museum. He lied and said he was stuck in traffic. Sojin waited until the museum closed, but she didn't see Yan Yu. She thought that they had missed each other again. She was sad and wanted to leave. Just then, Yan Yu ran to her side. She was happy that they had finally succeeded in telepathy. Yan Yu told her, "Destiny is made by ourselves." Sojin finally found Yan Yu in the telepathy test. She was sure that Yan Yu was her destined soulmate. The two of them happily strolled down the street, both hoping for their relationship to progress further. Yan Yu wanted to wait in line at a restaurant, but Sojin took him to her secret place, a convenience store, to eat instant noodles. She confided in him that whenever she was feeling down, she would come here to eat and relax. Today was a happy day. Sharing her favorite restaurant with Yan Yu made her even happier. Yan Yu smiled without saying anything. When they got home, he made a cup of tea with antibacterial and anti-inflammatory properties to soothe her stomach, which had been abused by junk food. What made him headache was that Sojin loved junk food. He had to persistently teach her about the importance of a healthy diet. Sojin rolled around on the bed in delight. She wanted to enjoy the feeling of going from a crush to being in love. Just then, Yan Yu called and asked her to dinner tomorrow. Sojin was secretly happy but wanted to play hard to get, so she suggested meeting on Saturday. Knowing that Yan Yu had to work overtime on Saturday, she immediately changed her mind and agreed to meet after work tomorrow. They made plans to meet at the restaurant that Yan Yu had carefully chosen. Unexpectedly, as soon as they sat down, they ran into Mayun, who was having dinner with her new boyfriend. Mayun came over to greet them. Her new boyfriend suggested they share a table. Yan Yu wanted to eat alone with Sojin, so he declined, but Sojin agreed to share a table. Previously, when she had checked Mayun's information, she learned that Mayun was her mother's adopted daughter. Although she was a little resentful towards her mother, she still wanted to learn more about Mayun. The four of them sat at the same table. Yan Yu picked up food for Sojin. Looking at the table full of greasy food, Sojin felt nauseous. Under Yan Yu's gaze, she reluctantly ate a bite. Seeing Yan Yu's actions, Mayun felt uncomfortable. She pretended to accidentally mention that she and Yan Yu often went to this restaurant, and that he was pickier than people thought. Witnessing Yan Yu and Mayun enjoying the food in the same way, Sojin thought to herself. They aren't soulmates. Why are their actions so similar? Ma-yeon's new boyfriend, who had been silent until now, asked Yeon-yu and Sojin if they were dating. Sojin stammered an explanation, but Yeon-yu cut her off, saying that they were getting to know each other. Ma-yeon was surprised to pick up the bottle of red wine on the table, and was surprised that Yeon-yu ordered this type of wine. She told Sojin that they had been to Belgium together, and that Yeon-yu had also ordered this wine. Yeon-yu explained that they went on the trip as a group. Ma-yeon's new boyfriend figured out Yeon-yu's identity from the conversation. Ma-yeon's book mentioned that she had once traveled with her ex-boyfriend, whom she couldn't forget. They had the same taste and preferences. After they broke up, she still had feelings for him. Now it seemed that her ex-boyfriend was Yeon-yu. Unable to bear this unusual relationship, Ma-yeon's new boyfriend left. Ma-yeon was very embarrassed. She apologized and stood up to leave as well. The meal ended in awkwardness for all four of them. Sojin's stomach was grumbling with hunger. She went to the convenience store to buy food when Kang-hun appeared behind her. While she was choosing beer, Kang-hun also picked up a can of beer. She chose snacks, and Kang-hun took the exact same ones. Their tastes had been strangely similar from a young age. Sojin was worried about the relationship between Yeon-yu and Mi-yoon. Kang-hun poured more cold water on her, saying that they had many things in common, from habits to preferences. Sojin sighed helplessly. Meeting your destined lover and owning your destined lover are two completely different things. Sojin was sad and didn't understand why Yeon-yu and Mi-yoon had broken up and gotten back together twice in the 3 years they had been dating. What was the reason they kept breaking up and getting back together? Sojin's co-worker, Ari, came up with a new term, same-type bacteria. Recently, she had discovered that people who have similar eating habits share the same type of gut bacteria. This type of bacteria would make partners see each other as potential mates, attracting each other. Sojin was inspired by this. From now on, she would eat the same things as Yeon-yu. She wanted Yeon-yu's gut bacteria to become the same type as hers. In a different development, Kang-hun suspected that the fire at the apartment he had helped save before was not an accident. According to the scene investigation results, the fire was not caused by a gas explosion or a short circuit. Moreover, the flowers in the room were not burned. It was very suspicious. The victim of the fire was the mistress of Yeon-yu's father. Yeon-yu's father held a funeral for her. Yeon-yu's mother suddenly appeared and said that this was her husband's business. She couldn't stand by and watch. Before leaving, Yeon-yu's mother glanced at the priest who was talking to the victim's family. Yeon-yu's father sent people to follow his wife, suspecting her of being involved in the mistress' death. Yeon-yu heard everyone discussing the woman who had died at the hospital. His family of 3 became the center of attention. But he didn't expect his father to accuse his mother of being the culprit right in front of him. His father said that his mistress was pregnant, and she definitely wouldn't commit suicide. Seeing Yeon-yu indifferent, his father scolded him, saying, "Your own sister died, and you don't even have any emotion." He continued, "Even if you don't consider the baby in her belly as family, she was a patient you treated. You don't deserve to be an obstetrician." Yeon-yu angrily chuckled. In his heart, the man in front of him was the one who didn't deserve to be a father or a husband. While Yeon-yu was dealing with his family matters, to carry out her plan, Sojin borrowed Kang-hun's father's kitchen to livestream mukbang for Yeon-yu, from preparing the ingredients to enjoying the finished product. She meticulously demonstrated each step and asked Yeon-yu to eat the same way she did. Kang-hun's father thought she was just playing around and put a chef's hat on her. But when Kang-hun took off the hat and revealed Sojin's eyes, he suddenly felt his heart flutter. After a few days of mukbang live streaming, Sojin asked Yeon-yu if he had been constipated or had any changes in stool color lately. Yeon-yu listed all the foods he had eaten in the past few days. Sojin discovered that he hadn't been following her menu. Her plan had completely failed. Sojin was very sad. Yeon-yu heard Sojin's strange tone. To cheer her up, he specially prepared a sumptuous dinner at home and invited Sojin over to eat. The doorbell rang, but it was Ma-yeon. It was Ma-yeon's birthday, and she came to celebrate with Yeon-yu. Yeon-yu said directly that he had invited Sojin to dinner, and he wanted to be alone with her. Ma-yeon was unwilling, but she had to leave in embarrassment. Sojin arrived on time. To support Yeon-yu, she ate very enthusiastically, saying that this was the first time she felt so happy eating. As soon as she finished speaking, her stomach grumbled loudly. To avoid embarrassing Yeon-yu, she lied and said that she was a little lactose intolerant and would be fine after resting for a while. Yeon-yu invited her to watch a movie and told her to sit on the sofa. Sojin encouraged herself, trying to endure the stomach ache. She limped towards the sofa, using her leg to support her backside, hoping to get through the pain. Yeon-yu didn't notice her discomfort. He took out a hair clip he had prepared and put it in her hair. The atmosphere was very romantic. Sojin praised herself for still being smitten even though her stomach hurt. But just as Yeon-yu was about to confess his feelings, she couldn't take it anymore and rushed out to find the bathroom. Yeon-yu didn't understand what was happening. He quickly put on his jacket and chased after her. Sojin was writhing in pain in the bathroom in the lobby. She tried to call Kang-hun for help. Kang-hun rushed over and took her to the emergency room. Yeon-yu ran out of the apartment building and didn't see Sojin. He didn't know that Sojin was lying in the ambulance that had just passed him. He called Sojin again, but Kang-hun answered. Sojin was taken to the hospital by Kang-hun. Yeon-yu heard the news and rushed over. The doctor diagnosed Sojin with acute gastritis. In addition, there was a foreign object in her lower left abdomen, suspected to be a uterine fibroid. Further examination was needed. After arranging everything for Sojin, Yan Yu felt jealous because every time she faced difficulties, Sojin always went to Kang Hun first. He wanted to know what position Kang Hun held in Sojin's heart. Kang Hun said that everyone has someone they can share their joys and sorrows with. He didn't care that Sojin only sought him out when she needed him. Whenever Sojin needed him, he would be there, like today. Sojin finished her IV drip and was discharged from the hospital. Kang Hun's father cooked porridge himself and told Kang Hun to make sure Sojin finished it, even if he had to feed her spoonful by spoonful. As expected, Sojin didn't want to eat the bland white porridge. Even though Kang Hun was feeding her, she didn't want to open her mouth. She told Kang Hun to try a bite to understand how she felt. Kang Hun was about to put the spoon in his mouth when Arai ran out to stop him, saying that sharing a spoon was the same as indirectly kissing. Sojin didn't care. She said that this wasn't the first time they had shared a spoon, but Kang Hun pushed the bowl of porridge away, his eyes clearly showing disgust. Kang Hun told her to rest and get better. Then he stood up and left. To thank Kang Hun's father, Sojin grabbed a bunch of celery and chased after him, telling Kang Hun to take it home. Hearing her call, Kang Hun stopped. Sojin ran to the stairs, accidentally slipped, and fell into Kang Hun. In that moment of falling, their lips touched. Sojin stood up and nonchalantly wiped her mouth, but Kang Hun couldn't remain calm. He took the celery home, but his face was still flushed, and his heart was racing. He ran to calm himself down. He ran to the park that he and Sojin used to go to when they were young. He remembered the first time they met. Back then, because his mother was sick, he often cried alone. Seeing this, Sojin tried her best to comfort him. From then on, Kang Hun regarded Sojin as his sister. Over the years, he had taken care of Sojin as a younger brother would a sister, but the unexpected kiss just now had made his heart race. He suddenly realized that he liked Sojin. Sojin went to Yan Yu's hospital for a thorough checkup. The doctor informed her that the uterine fibroid was too large and needed immediate surgery. Hearing about the surgery and possible complications, Sojin was terrified. She jumped up and asked for details. The female doctor was unhappy with her overreaction and told her assistant to explain while she coldly left. After hearing the explanation, Sojin and the doctor agreed on a surgery time. To find someone to take care of her, she hesitated and then called her mother. Her mother heard about the surgery date and said that she had an art exhibition that day and wouldn't be free until 2 months later. She told Sojin to reschedule the surgery for 2 months later. Sojin complained that no one would reschedule a surgery to match someone else's schedule. She was sad. Even something as important as her life was subject to her mother's schedule, but her mother said that she was the one who was getting surgery. She needed to take care of her own business. Why was she always blaming her? Sojin was both sad and heartbroken. She texted her father, who had passed away, confiding that she was scared to go into surgery alone and was afraid of being put under general anesthesia. If her father could be there to hold her hand, she wouldn't be so scared. Yan Yu heard these words and didn't approach her to bother her. Instead, he went to see Sojin's attending physician. Having worked together for many years, he knew that she was cold and often said hurtful things, so he begged her to be kind to Sojin. The female doctor didn't agree, saying there was no reason for her to treat Sojin differently just because she was the one Yan Yu liked. She even mocked Yan Yu, saying that he was going to fall for a nagging, childish woman like that. Yan Yu immediately demanded to transfer Sojin to his department. He would operate on Sojin himself. Sojin was unwilling. She called her sister, hoping that she could come to the hospital on the day of her surgery. Her sister was traveling with Mayun and their friends. She was annoyed by Sojin's disturbance and bluntly refused. She thought that her sister didn't have cancer but just needed a minor surgery. Mayun accidentally heard their conversation. Only then did she learn that they were sisters. She curiously asked what Sojin was like. Sojin's sister sighed. She's an idiot. She can't leave the people who deceive her. Even her family members always scold her, but she can't bear to abandon them. Both her family members were unable to be there, so Sojin had to call Kang Hun. Kang Hun promised to come to the hospital before the surgery. From now on, he would be Sojin's guardian. Sojin was finally at ease. She went to a restaurant with Ari. On TV, they were showing a scene where the male and female leads were kissing. Kang Hun remembered Sojin's unexpected kiss and suddenly blushed, his heart racing. He quickly turned off the TV. Arai saw him blushing and teased him. He was just watching a kiss scene, but his adrenaline and dopamine levels were already rising. Kang Hun didn't know how to explain and ran out. Sojin had her pre-operative tests. To reduce her anxiety, Yan Yu put on her headphones and gave her a remote control, telling her to press the button if she felt uncomfortable, and he would be outside. Sojin felt warm in her heart, enjoying the feeling of being cared for and looked after. Kang Hun arrived at the hospital and saw Sojin after she finished the examination. She was standing in the middle of a flower garden, and he suddenly couldn't take another step. The image of Sojin happily playing among the flowers when she was young overlapped with the present. In the slow-motion scene, he heard his heart beating. They went out to eat together and ran into Miyun. Miyun knew that Sojin was a gene researcher. She wanted Sojin to help her take a test. Sojin gave Miyun her business card. Seeing Yan Yu appear, Sojin's eyes lit up. Yan Yu told Sojin not to eat junk food and to eat nutritious things. Mayun realized that Kang Hun liked Sojin. She reminded Kang Hun that it was useless to like someone in your heart. You had to express it. If Kang Hun needed it, she would gladly give him the love manual she wrote to teach this clueless guy how to date. After dinner, Sojin received a call from Yan Yu. He said he had something to give her. They made plans to meet at a quiet park. Yan Yu said that this was his secret place. Whenever he was in a bad mood, he would come here to relax. After saying that, he pulled out the things he'd prepared for Sojin: post-surgery tea, hospital slippers, a book to read when she was bored, and a heating pad for after surgery. Sojin, once again, felt like she and Yan Yu had a telepathic connection because everything was exactly what she needed. Sojin confided that her family was indifferent to her, and if she had Yan Yu's family, it would definitely be different. She was curious because she had never heard Yan Yu mention his relatives. Yan Yu deliberately avoided the question. He stood up and walked Sojin back to her home. That night, Kang Hun stayed up all night at the hospital to watch over Sojin. Sojin asked him to tie her hair for her. Kang Hun awkwardly sat down, tying her hair while they joked around. Yan Yu saw the two of them getting close and got so angry that he kicked a cabinet. The next morning, Sojin's surgery was about to start. But just then, Kang Hun got a call from the fire department. There was a fire and he had to act right away. Before leaving, Kang Hun didn't wake Sojin, who was sleeping soundly. But he called his sister and told her to go to the hospital immediately. She absolutely had to be in the operating room with Sojin. Unfortunately, Kang Hun's sister was late. Sojin was wheeled into surgery alone. An unexpected situation occurred. Yan Yu was operating on a pregnant woman who had been in a car accident, and another doctor had to take over Sojin's surgery. Sojin was scared, and her tears wouldn't stop. Right when she opened her eyes, she was surprised to see Yan Yu in front of her. Yan Yu comforted her, telling her to think about happy memories. The surgery would be over soon. Sojin remembered a scene of her family of 4 playing on the beach when she was a child. It was one of the few happy memories she had. The surgery was successful. When she woke up, Sojin thanked Yan Yu for everything he had done for her. Seeing Yan Yu so close, she couldn't hold back her emotions and kissed him. Just then, Kang Hun rushed over after finishing his fire rescue duty, but what he saw was Sojin and Yan Yu kissing.